Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Pacers Daily. I am your host, Hery Acosta. Back at it again with a new episode. Happy Monday. Here we go. First things first, Malik Beasley is one of the players that is being showed interest by the Pacers. Now, he's coming off a season where he played all 82 games, averaged 16 points per game, and just had a very nice year off the bench for the Detroit Pistons. Now, everything kind of changed when this offseason it came out that he was being investigated for some gambling charges or some sports betting charges. But recently it came out that there is no investigation anymore. They didn't find any liable evidence or just anything to really charge him for. Now, that doesn't mean that it was done or it wasn't done. It just means that there wasn't enough evidence to prove of something. But let's look on the bright side. Now, he's a guy that the Pacers could use off the bench. He is a sharpshooter, very good three-point shooter. But just like a lot of three-point shooters, he has those nights where he's just unplayable. But then there's those nights where he hits 6, 7, 8 threes. And he had multiple games this year where he hit 6, 7, or 8 threes. So that would definitely be something to look for just because he wasn't able to re-sign that extension that the Pistons were wanting to re-sign him to. It was like 2 years, $45 million. So now the Pacers could look for him for a little cheaper, which that would be fantastic if we could get him for cheaper, especially on the bench, and he could be that backup shooting guard to Benedict Mathurin. Just because we don't really have that backup shooting guard right now, unless you move Cam Jones as to that backup. So definitely look for more news on Malik Beasley. I will probably be talking about him more, just because I think that could be something in the future. Now, this one is one that caught me by surprise because in no way that I think we were going to shake up our coaching staff whatsoever. Now, Mike Wayner and the Pacers have mutually agreed to part ways. This is a guy that can be a head coach in the league. He's been our assistant for a couple of years now. Came over from the same staff as Rick Carlisle. So this one was very interesting just because he had such good chemistry with the team. We always saw camera cuts of him talking to the players and just being one of those vocal guys on the bench. So he's definitely going to be missed. We'll definitely need to find someone to fill that role of. He wasn't the lead assistant. That's Lloyd Pierce, but he was right there next to Lloyd Pierce, and then Jim Boylan was next to him. So definitely one of the big shocking coaching decisions, and it's not even a head coach or even a lead assistant coach. It's just one of the assistant coaches that was a very good assistant coach for the team. Players respected him, all the other coaches respected him, but there's always better opportunities for people. So I do wish him the best of luck. I think he brought a lot of really good things to the Pacers. I think he had a great chemistry with the guys. One of the main reasons that everyone was always ready to play and we made it as far as we did. So thank you for that. But, on to better endeavors. Wish you the best. Nothing but love out of Indy for you, Coach Weiner. So next thing, I know I keep updating everybody about Halliburton, and I know it's going to get repetitive just because we know he's not going to play this year. But I just like to see some of my favorite players doing good. And, he is Indy's golden child at the moment. And will continue to be that until he retires because we want him in Indy for the rest of his career. But Halliburton is walking in his boot without an issue. Keeps coming out, keeps talking about it. So it just, I got to talk about it just because, I have nothing but love and respect for Halliburton just because he is who he is. He has led this team for years, back-to-back conference finals, NBA finals appearance. We're going to win a championship with Halliburton. It's going to happen. Now, whether we build kind of like a big team around him or we keep building chemistry and just everyone just keeps improving year to year, whichever one. This team has everything that they need to win a championship. Recently re-signing Carlisle to a multi-year extension. Most of our players are under contract a few more years. So that same team. The only thing that could really change this team is trades. And maybe just signing a few other players and cutting kind of like the I wouldn't call them bottom tier players, but I will be talking about it here in a bit. but more of like the garbage time players that don't really play outside of garbage time and are on very small contracts. It's like the 1 year, $2 million years, or the minimum contracts. Like we haven't brought back James Johnson, but thank you James Johnson for everything you did for the team, by the way. But just minimum contracts and anyone under, non-guaranteed. So those are probably the players to look for. But back to Halliburton, it's great to see him walking. It's great to see him in good spirits, like always. I swear that guy is never smiling. But, good to see. Good to see. And I would just love to just keep on seeing more news about it. He should be starting, the rehab process is going to take a while for a torn Achilles. But then he probably won't be doing any physical work till sometime next year, just because he's going to have to keep healing that. So hopefully everything just keeps on going well. And, but last and foremost, we are going to talk about Tony Bradley. And I've been kind of just looking around to see what the training camp roster could look like. And the number one cut candidate would be Bradley. Just because the way the Pacers structured his contract, it is a non-guaranteed. They gave him that player option. But, what is going on? Sorry, there was something weird on my screen. We're just going to ignore that. But back to Tony Bradley. He's a guy that can play. He wasn't in the league for a few years, but then the Pacers brought him in, and right away he made an impact, whether it was off the bench or, in his garbage time. I mean, the dude was getting finals minutes, like important finals minutes, over a player like Thomas Bryant. So Tony Bradley can play. Now, whether I agree with him getting those minutes or not 100%, but at the end of the day, respect. He's a tall guy. He can grab rebounds. He can box out. Not the strongest guy out there, but still one that can hold his own, and one that would be a very good fit to a lot of teams who could use a backup center or, anyone to kind of fill in that void in case there's injuries. So definitely be seeing that. The only other person that could even fit in this would be James Wiseman, but I don't see Wiseman getting cut over Bradley, just because Wiseman could even end up being a starter at some point if there's any injury, or if just he ends up, playing up to potential, because this was a second overall pick we were talking about. This is a guy who was drafted over someone like this. This guy was drafted over LaMelo Ball. He was drafted over Tyrese. He was drafted over Toppin. Drafted before Tyrese Maxey. Jalen Smith. All these players. But he's still in the NBA, so he's still putting in enough work to be part of a team, but he just hasn't shown that he can be that second overall pick. So he's been being called a bust for years, which I understand why, but at the same time, those injuries, he's just not been healthy. And we all know the best ability is availability, and Wiseman hasn't had availability. So let's just see what he does this year. So I'm going to continue to go with Tony Bradley as the cut candidate. So, but as always, I'm your host, Hery Acosta. This is Pacers Daily. Boom, baby, and go, Sirs.